Thank you, Renee. And good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us. Today, we're diving into the unification of the Sentinel and XDR platforms and why it's important to make the switch to the Defender portal as soon as possible. We'll show you exactly where to find everything you're used to in Azure Sentinel and walk through what's changed and what stays the same. I'm Naomi Christis, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Neelam Nursee, to help you get started in the unification of your portals. Neelam, do you want to say hi?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Neelam, product manager for Microsoft Sentinel and Defender XDR. And yeah, super excited to show you how to get Sentinel Defender ready and accelerate your onboarding to the unified experience.
Okay, thank you. So let's first take a look at the agenda. First, kickoff and why migrate. Why now is the right time to switch, what's changing and what you gain. Next, navigate like a pro. So we'll show you where to find everything and highlight the key features. Then instant mastery, learn how to handle incidents with confidence using the new unified queue. After that, we'll help you boost your skills with UEBA Insights, threat intelligence, and case management. And we'll wrap up with some FAQs and a preview of our next session, because this is part of a two-part webinar series, and this is part one. And throughout, we'll include some demos to show you how things work and keep it interesting and interactive. Okay, let's get started. Now, I hope you all know that our journey toward the unified security operations platform has been in progress for a while now. We're bringing all the key security tools together, SIEM, XDR, and Copilot, in one unified platform, which will give you really that single view of incidents and data. With Microsoft Defender, you get the best tools in one place. And this isn't just an upgrade. It's really a new way to do security, proactive, smart, and ready for anything. Now, this is where we are now, but let's take a look at how it all started. We began the Sentinel journey in 2019. We launched Sentinel in March for private preview, and by October that year, we went GA. Back then, we had only a few connectors, but today we have more than 350 connectors in the Content Hub, and we still create more. And with the development of new ways to connect data to Sentinel, we also started adding new features like UEBA and SOAR and many other capabilities. And then about 2 years ago, we introduced the unified SOC experience. So this brought Sentinel and Microsoft Defender together in one home. And this has been GA since last year. And since then, we also added critical integrations like multi-tenancy and multi-workspace. And just 2 months ago, we introduced the data lake. And this is actually also a big step because Sentinel is no longer just a SIEM. It's now a full platform. But because of time constraints, we won't go too deep into data lake functionalities, but if you missed last week's webinar from our colleagues Benji and Javier, then please go check out the recording on our YouTube channel so you can also learn more about that journey. Now, taking again one step back, just to take a look at how we used to work or maybe how you're still working. So this slide shows the old way of working. So SOC analysts have to switch between the two portals. So they start triaging incidents in the Azure Sentinel portal, and if it's an XDR incident, they pivot to the Defender portal, and after investigating in the Defender portal, you have to go back to the Azure portal to close the incidents in Sentinel, and there's just a lot of back and forth between the portals. Now, let's look at how the new way of working looks like. Now, with the unified Defender portal, everything comes together in one place. Sentinel and XDR are fully integrated, so there's no more juggling logins or jumping between tools. You get a single interface for your security operations and all your incidents in a single workflow. So this means faster investigations and less complexity for your SOC. And we don't stop here. As some as you might know, we also announced at Ignite the integration of Microsoft Defender for Cloud into the unified portal. So more and more, you will get that full unified view in one portal. Now, moving Sentinel into the Defender portal is kind of like renovating your house. So everything you need is still there. The structure doesn't change. But after renovation, it feels better. It works better. So take the bathroom as an example. Before, you had a normal shower, a sink, everything you need basically. But after the renovation, it's better. You have a rain shower, you have heated floors, you have smart mirrors. Same bathroom, just upgraded. And that's what happens when Sentinel moves to the Defender portal. All your core SOC capabilities remain, just better. So automation rules and playbooks, for example, they keep working, just like before. Logic apps are still the engine behind playbooks. They're just simply called from Defender now, from the Defender portal. Triggers and actions continue to run as usual, so there's no need to rewrite anything. Just keep in mind that incident titles might look different when alerts are correlated. But we'll talk more about this in the incident mastery section, so no worries. Then the instant queue, that stays central to your SOC workflow. And I'd say it's even more central now. It's more intuitive with everything happening in one portal. So no more pivoting back and forth between different interfaces. But again, we'll dive deeper into this topic in the instant mastery section. Analytic rules, they keep on running on the right data. So no changes are needed. Some of you might know that we do plan to move analytic rules into custom detections in the future, but that's not happening yet. And if you want to learn more, we also have a full webinar on our YouTube channel about our plans for unification and how custom detection and analytics rules will work together. But remember, the transition will also be smooth. And for now, there are no changes required to move your rules to the Defender portal. The table still is the same, your queries run on your data just as before, and incidents are created as usual. Advanced hunting, same KQL language as before. Now it's easier even because all your tables, XDR and SIEM, are together in one place. So this can actually help also save costs since you don't need to send your XDR data to log analytics anymore, unless you need longer retention than XDR provides. So if you do require longer storage, you can still choose to send it to log analytics or another storage option. Then connectors, analytics, workbooks, automation, all the content from the Content Hub, the out-of-the-box content, all of that still available for you in the Defender portal. Nothing disappears. Everything you rely on in the Azure portal will be right there, ready to use. Behavior insights and entity investigations remain, and actually they get richer in the unified portal. We'll dive deeper into this one actually also in one of our next sessions. But if you want to learn more, we also have a separate webinar on this topic available on our channel. TI, still integrated, huge improvements, I would say. Richer enrichment, better context, but also more on this later in this webinar. Workbooks and reporting stays the same. And lastly, your Sentinel REST API still works for Sentinel resources. So you can start using the Microsoft Graph Security API for Defender if you want, and we actually recommend it. But there's no need to rewrite your scripts or automations just now. The REST API will keep working as before. And role-based access also remains in place. So we'll cover RBAC in detail in part 2 of this webinar. So please do join us next week if you want to have a dive deeper into that topic. So just like renovating your bathroom, everything you need is still here. Better, faster, and unified. So we do urge you to move now, so you can enjoy the upgrades as soon as possible. Not only because the unified portal has a lot of benefits, but also because the old Azure Sentinel experience will be deprecated. So don't wait until the last minute. Start exploring the new Defender portal now and get comfortable with the new experience and take advantage of all the improvements we made for the portal. The sooner you move, the sooner you benefit. So don't wait and just start enjoying your new bathroom. Now I'd like to pass the mic to Neelam, who will help us navigate the new portal and show where you can find everything you need. Neelam?
Great, thanks, Naomi. So let's head now into the portal. Great. So this step is actually after you onboard your Sentinel environment to Defender. We will talk more about the actual onboarding steps next week on episode 2. Like Naomi mentioned earlier, having 2 portals to manage your security operations will slow you down. So here we bring you not only a single pane of glass for Microsoft Sentinel and Defender XDR, but also a consistent navigation with integration with like more integrated workflows and also embedded security copilot, which I'll be showing you some sneak peeks in this demo. So here we are in the unified Defender portal, Sentinel's new home. And I wanted to highlight that usually we have 2 types of teams, Team Light Mode and Team Dark Mode. So for today's demo, Team Dark Mode won. So let's switch it. Okay, let's start first with this unified dashboard, which brings together signals from your Sentinel, like for example, Sentinel automation, your SOC optimization, your data connectors, your ITDR, your XSPM data, your threat intelligence as well will show up in this unified dashboard, your Defender for Cloud. So essentially, it brings a unified view of all your security products. The Defender XDR portal unifies multiple security products like your Defender for Endpoint, your Defender for Identity, Defender for Office, etc., and across multiple shared experiences. Like you can see on this left side menu, you have exposure management, investigation and response, your threat intelligence, assets, Microsoft Sentinel identities, and so on. Our main focus today is this one, which is the Sentinel Blade. And here you will see your familiar Sentinel experiences, like under your threat management, you will be able to access your workbooks, your Sentinel hunts, under your content management, you will be accessing your content hub for your different solutions that you install, your repositories if you use CI/CD. And under configuration, you will get your settings for your tables, your data connectors, your analytics rules, your watch list, and automations. And this must be very familiar to you if you're using the Azure portal. And transitioning to this one will be like a lifting and shifting experience. And just to highlight a little bit here, this is new. We have our new data lake also added here. If you're also interested in that topic, I would recommend to check the previous webinars. So this is our data lake option. Just stepping out a little bit outside of our Sentinel Blade here, to scroll down the list, we have this SOC optimization feature here, which is natively integrated into Defender, just like in your Azure portal. And here you will see the insights about your SOC, basically any insights and recommendations across all your workspaces that you have. So this doesn't change also. And in addition, we are bringing you a great capability, which also we'll talk a little bit more in a slide later. Case management is a native case management feature that we are bringing you as a Sentinel customer, which will allow you to collaborate on incidents. So, for instance, we can take an incident investigation here, and you can collaborate on it. You can assign it to your analyst. You can add attachments. You can link objects like incidents or indicators of compromise. So this is actually great. So you can collaborate on tasks as well. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about this later. So now you're wondering, what about my incidents? So incidents will be located under investigation and response in incidents and alerts. So you'll get 2 tabs here for incidents, which will give you a unified incidents queue, and Naomi will cover that in more depth shortly. And also you get a unified alerts queue, which brings all your alerts in a single view. So now let's head into hunting. Because where do you write your queries? What about your KQL, your hunts? So this is advanced hunting, or the unified advanced hunting experience, where you can see all your tables on the left-hand side here, and that includes tables from your XDR and also, very importantly, your Sentinel. So all the familiar tables that you use in Sentinel will be showing up here. There you go. Your like this is a unified queue, so it's not just your tables, but you can also access your functions, your queries, your tools, detection rules, and so on. One benefit about this unification is that you can run joint queries. So like this one that you see on the screen is querying a sign-in logs table with a device table. And these 2 device tables that I am not ingesting currently into Sentinel. And I can run a query on it like I would normally, even if I'm not ingesting the data. And this will run for the first 30 days without requiring ingestion. And if you need more ingestion, longer retention for this, you can, of course, ingest into Sentinel. So what this query is doing basically is querying sign-in logs and correlating it with some device information. And here I can see some results popping up. And I can choose to dig into these results like you would in logs. Or you can also open the right-hand pane here and dig further into the results. One cool thing that we are also bringing with advanced hunting is the ability to link your results to an incident. So that's actually super cool if you want to further your investigations. And you can also actually create a detection rule based on this. So again, without ingesting your data into Sentinel, you can go ahead and create a detection rule. But this will be covered in a deeper session next week, by the way. And I also wanted to show you this custom detection split here, which brings you a unified view of your custom detections and your analytics rules. So it will be a single view for you to manage your analytics and your custom detections. So just back to advanced hunting, because I wanted to really talk about it today. Exciting news, actually. We have a new threat hunting agent. It was released to public preview yesterday, and I was so excited to show it today. So this is a live demo of the threat hunting agent. So what this agent does, basically, it allows you to hunt in natural language. And not just that, it provides a conversational experience, which means you don't need to be a KQL expert, and instead you can focus on your hunting activity. So you can just ask the agent, like, what do you want to hunt on? So let me try here with a simple prompt. So I want to have users with more than 5 alerts in the last 5 days. So now what this agent is doing, it's going to process what you're asking it. It's going to provide some KQL here in this pane and the results, which is already seamlessly integrated within the advanced hunting. Like you can see here, the query has been generated based on what I asked it. It also provides some insights here on the right-hand side of my screen about the users with more than 5 security alerts in the last 5 days. And not just that, it also creates in the results. Let me scroll down a little bit here. It provides like a view, a contextual view with extra insights, and you can choose to group by, let's say, account name, alert counts, or whatever insights have been generated here. So Copilot gives great visualizations and summary about the results, and on top of your results in advanced hunting. Back to the right-hand side, you can also analyze what is the logic behind the query, why it generated that query specifically, if there are any recommended actions here, and it will also provide some smart suggestions that you can keep using to hunt on your query. But what I find really cool is that you can ask any follow-up questions. So let's say I want to ask something like, show alert details for a user. Let me pick this user here. Yeah, so it didn't allow me to copy that, so I'll just write it down. Here we go. So basically, it's going to just create another query in the pane following on my previous questions, and it will generate additional results. Great, so this was about the cool hunting agent. Yeah, as you can see, more results have been generated, and it will also update the insights accordingly. Last bit of navigation before I hand back to Naomi. If you're a Sentinel only customer, that is, if you don't have any Defender XDR licenses, you will also be able to access all these features. So let me now pivot to my Sentinel only tenant and show you the environment. So this is my tenant where I don't have any XDR at all here. And I will still see a dashboard that is only showing insights from what I have within Defender and within Sentinel. Still, I will have my Sentinel here, and I have my content, my analytics rules, my data connectors. And if I go into advanced hunting, I will still see my tables, although I don't have any XDR tables in this environment. So what's most important to me is to see my Sentinel tables here. Great. So back to you, Naomi.
Thank you. And thank you so much for this amazing demo. Now, let's dive into incident mastery. This is where the real value, I think, of the unified portal comes to life. So let's take a look at how incidents investigations are evolving as you move from Sentinel in Azure to the Microsoft Defender portal. Let's first take a look at how the incident queue and pages have changed. On the left, you see the old way, the classic Sentinel queue in Azure portal, and on the right, the new unified incident queue in Defender. So notice how the new layout brings everything together, incidents, evidence, and actions all in one place. At first glance, you already get more information in the unified queue. You can see exactly where your incidents originate from, thanks to the detection source column. You can also drop down an incident to view all the alerts included in that incident, and you get a very clear and amazing prioritization score, which is, by the way, new and a very useful feature. And migrating to the unified portal means also less switching because all the incidents are here in this queue. So let's talk about what happens right after you onboard Sentinel to the Defender portal. The first big benefit is the Defender XDR correlation engine. Once your workspace is onboarded, all incidents and alerts are generated by the Defender XDR engine. So this means visibility across all your signals, not just Defender alerts, but also from those Sentinel rules. The engine can correlate these signals to detect multi-stage attacks and then help you get that full visibility in the attack chain. Another key advantage is the noise reduction. In the past, if you set up a rule in Sentinel to trigger alerts for every event, you could end up with a flood of alerts, sometimes hundreds for the same issue. Now with Defender's correlation engine, those noisy alerts are grouped together. So instead of dozens of incidents, you get one clear correlated incident. There's also a cost-saving angle, which I mentioned also at the beginning, because Defender XDR provides 30 days of data retention by default. If you want to create detections that correlate data between Defender XDR and Sentinel tables, you can do it directly in the Defender portal without having to send XDR data to Sentinel. So this saves on data ingestion cost. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the concept of correlation. We create incidents which represents large attack stories, and the grouping of alerts is done by our correlation engine. If an alert is unique, we create a new incident for it. But if a new alert is related to other alerts, we add it to an existing incident. And correlation doesn't stop after a new alert is generated, because even after incidents are created or merged, we keep looking for commonalities and relationships. When an incident is similar enough, we merge them. So, which means we will combine all the details into one place and we will close the empty incident. Now, what are the reasons for correlation? We will correlate when entities are similar. Think of the same user showing up in the alerts, or devices, mailboxes, stuff like that. When artifacts overlap, think of files or processes or email senders. Of course, timeframes is also an important condition. We don't want to merge ancient incidents with new alerts. And for example, sequence of events is another thing that we keep track of. Sequence of events can point to multi-stage attacks. Think of someone clicking a malicious email event, which was preceded by an alert about phishing email detection. It would be nice to be aware of this full situation, right? But there are also clear rules for when we don't merge. So if an incident is closed, we never reopen it. If incidents are assigned to different people, they stay separate incidents. If they have different classifications, like true positive and false positive, we don't merge. And if merging would exceed the allowed number of entities, we keep them apart. And when the two incidents contain devices in different device groups, they will also not be merged. And just recently, still waiting to go into public preview, we actually added a new mechanism to give you more control over incident correlation. If an analytic rule contains the don't cor in its description, incidents generated by that rule will not be merged with other incidents, even if they share entities, artifacts, or timeframes. So how does it work? You can add the don't cor tag to the analytic rule descriptions, and then any alert triggered by this rule will bypass the Defender correlation engine. So instead of being automatically merged with other related instances, these alerts are grouped into instances according to the analytic rule's own configuration, just like how it worked in Sentinel. This means that the instance will only contain alerts from that specific rule and won't be combined with other instances, even if there are overlaps. Because we do know that sometimes you want to keep certain detections isolated from other instances, that maybe because of compliance, auditing, or operational reasons. It might be, for example, helpful for testing rules to not be correlated with real incidents. So you might want to keep specific detections separate from other incidents. And soon you can, because this is already in private preview, just waiting to go to public. But maybe let's move on to our demo environment and walk through how an investigation looks like in Defender. So here we are in the incidents blade, and you'll find the incident queue over here, showing both XDR and Sentinel incidents in one place. As mentioned at the start of the webinar, you now have that single view for all incidents. And I want to immediately spotlight the big benefit of the Defender incident queue, and that is the new priority score for each incident. This helps you quickly decide which incident to tackle first. And just in a moment, I'll show you how the priority score is calculated for each incident. But let's take a bit more of a moment to look at the queue itself. At the top, you'll see the refresh button. So this lets you update the queue whenever there are changes, like a new incident coming in, or if an incident was updated by one of your SOC colleagues. By the way, it will also notify you when you need to refresh. You'll also notice, of course, the familiar functionalities from Azure Sentinel, like filtering and sorting. And you can sort by priority score. And your filters you can actually also save for you to easily find again and have quick access. From the queue itself, you can already manage your incidents. So for example, you can assign an owner, or you can change the classification or the status. And you can also see from the queue itself the alerts that are related to this incident, all without leaving the queue. And speaking of alerts, we also have that separate queue for alerts. But honestly, I do recommend focusing on the incident queue, because that's where you get the real attack stories. Everything is grouped together, showing the full context of what happens, which alerts are connected, and how the attack unfolds. So the incident queue gives you a much clearer picture for your investigations and response. Now, when you click on an incident, you immediately get a side pane with some key information, just like you're used to in Sentinel. You can see the priority score was calculated over here. And in this example, the score isn't very high because there aren't any important assets involved, no high severity alerts, no significant MITRE static or threat intelligence linked to it. So that's why it has that low score over here. You also get the basic details like incident description or which assets are involved, and the evidence collected. That's all already available from this pane. You can also, again, manage the incident from this pane, run a playbook manually, or open the activity log to review all the actions that were already taken on this incident. So let's take a look at this activity log. This is actually the best place to see what's already been done during the investigation, who changed what, and whether any correlation actually happened, as you can see over here, either automatically by the engine or manually. You can also add comments at the bottom, and then it will also show in your activity log. That's really great to keep track of ongoing actions and decisions. So this is a really nice audit trail to ensure that everyone on the team stays up to date. Now you'll notice that an automation rule ran on this incident. So let's quickly also open up the automation rules. Let me open it up in another tab. Not another tab, it is. But this looks very similar. Just like in Sentinel, you have your playbook templates, your automation rules, your active playbooks. But I just wanted to pause here for one important point, because you might need to review some of your automation rules. Why? Because correlation can merge incidents, and thus it can change their title. So using the incident title as a trigger is not recommended. Instead, you should use the trigger analytic rule name. That's much more reliable. Of course, if you use the correlation exclusion feature that we just talked about earlier, correlation won't kick in, and then the title won't change. So I'll show you how to configure that, by the way, the correlation exclusion, in just a few minutes. But another update worth mentioning is that the incident provider should now actually be mapped to alert product name in your automation rule conditions. Other than that, the basics remain the same. Your automation rule can still assign ownership, tags, suppress noisy incidents, invoke playbooks. You can choose your trigger, for example, when an incident was created, incident updated, and you can define your conditions, of course. So, and then string along all the actions together that you want to have for your automation. But let's move back to our incidents. And now let's open one so we can see the full attack chain in the instant page. So right here you have the timeline overview, in which you can also filter for certain alerts. So for example, I want to only see high severity alerts. And you also have your graph over here where you can also filter on, for example, your entity types. On the side panel, if you open it up, you'll find the incident details or more information about the selected alert. So then you get more information about that. Then you also have a couple of tabs over here, like alert tabs, which shows, for example, the correlation reason over here, when alerts or why alerts are automatically correlated. But you can also work on alerts from over here. So you can manage the alert, which is assigning it or changing the status. You can link it and move the alert to another incident. That's all something that you can do from over here. You have an assets tab, which shows you which entities are involved, but Neelam will cover that in a moment. There's also a summary tab. And to wrap up, you can add tasks over here. You can use Copilot for assistance. You can link your instance, merge your instance to somewhere else, or even export your instance to PDF. So everything you would want to do on an instance is right here in one place. Now, just before handing it back to Neelam, I did promise you to show you how to configure the analytic rule exclusion. So if you move to the instance settings in your analytic rule, at the bottom you have a disable or enable correlation switch. Now, if you switch the switch, you already see that there is a warning that the don't core tag was automatically added at the beginning of the rule description. So if you go back, you also see it over here in the rule description. So you can also either manually or through API add that to the description for this rule to not be correlated with other instances. You can also move to the custom detection rules to see the view over here, and then you can actually select which analytic rules you want to disable or enable from correlation, and then do it in bulk for multiple rules. Now, Neelam, I think the floor is yours again.
Yes, okay. Let's switch topics a little bit and go into some UEBA. So most of the functionalities of user entity behavior analytics will remain the same in the Defender portal as they were in the Azure portal, with just some additional perks that are now surfacing in Defender. And let's get into it. So you may have noticed, first of all, that the entity behavior tab is not available in Defender. This is because we want to better align with the entity experiences in the Defender portal and provide a more unified entity experience across both Sentinel and Defender. So instead of a separate blade, all entity-related functionality is now integrated into entity pages. And it's also accessible within the settings in the Defender portal. Entities in Defender are generally called under assets, such as accounts, hosts, or mailboxes, or they are categorized as evidence, like IP addresses, files, or URLs. They're also accessible via the incidents under the Assets tab, as Naomi showed earlier. So after onboarding, you get this unified entity view, which combines data from multiple Sentinel workspaces and your Defender sources into a single entity page for better investigation context. So let's have a look now at some new data sources for UEBA. If you have UEBA enabled in the Azure portal, you'll be familiar with those, the sign-in logs, audit logs, Azure Activity and Security Events. But we now have new sources that are only available via Defender, and these are the AAD-managed identity sign-in logs, the principal sign-in logs, AWS CloudTrail, device logon events, Okta, and GCP audit logs. So we do have new UEBA experiences in the Defender portal, bringing the behavioral insights directly into some key analyst workflows. So in the user page here, users with behavioral anomalies are automatically tagged with UEBA anomalies tag. So you can see this here available. And this helps identify like which users to prioritize. And it also shows the number of anomalies that are related to that user. And below, you can see the top UEBA anomalies, which actually shows the provides the behavioral insights with a confidence score about how anomalous that user is. And not just that, but in the incident graph, when you click on a user and do the Go Hunt, you will also get the option to see all the user anomalies for that user, which is super cool. And lastly, here at the bottom in Advanced Hunting, if you're referencing a table that uses UEBA, like in my example, it's the sign-in logs table, you will see a contextual banner that appears that will suggest your analyst to say, hey, consider joining your query with the anomalies table, and this will provide more context, and it will basically add richer enhancements to your queries. We have a recent webinar about this. It was already shared in the Q&A probably. And I really, really recommend that you have a look at it as well. So as part of the onboarding to Defender, you also get a new identity info table, which unifies Sentinel's version and Defender XDR's version. If you have UEBA enabled in your environment, the specific UEBA fields will be automatically visible to you in the unified schema. But having a new table also means some schema differences. But what does this mean for you? Although the field mappings are automatically done in the backend to ensure that none of your custom content break, we do recommend to review any analytics rules, queries, workbooks that use this table, and any automations that you can verify that everything works smoothly. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about threat intelligence. Threat intelligence in the SIEM versus threat intelligence in the unified portal. Compared to the older version from the Azure portal in Sentinel, you get a broader set of capabilities which expands beyond operationalizing TI with the SIEM. You also get finished intelligence and workflows that are integrated already with Defender, which I'm going to show you shortly. But just before, I wanted to highlight this as well. We have two threat intelligence tables in Sentinel for your hunting queries and detection rules. The first one is the threat intel indicators, which stores the individuals like your IOCs, like IPs, URLs, file hashes. And you can use this to match with your XDR device tables, for example, or your Sentinel tables like security event. The other one is threat intel objects, and this one provides more contextual information about your IOCs, like threat actors, malware, campaigns, attack patterns, and so on. And this one is used mainly to enrich your alerts with more contextual information. So this is a bonus, very interesting bonus. If you have heard about Defender Threat Intelligence, now it's available at no cost. So Defender Threat Intelligence is being converged into Defender, XDR, and Sentinel. So what does this mean? There's no license anymore. You can now access all the insights and intelligence from Defender Threat Intelligence at no extra cost. So it's like you get automated detections based on the NDTI indicators without any NDTI premium license. You get actor-based hunting, so your teams can hunt on threats tied to any specific adversaries using integrated actor profiles, tactics and procedures, infrastructure intelligence. You get enriched incidents, so threat actor context is automatically added to incidents. You can accelerate investigation and response. You also get linked alerts, so vulnerable assets and alerts are now directly tied to your threat campaigns. Automated playbooks, so basically these playbooks can protect against threat actor infrastructure and with minimal manual efforts. So this brings us to the new and awesome unified Microsoft Threat Intelligence. So you're getting more than operational threat intelligence. You're getting a full-fledged threat intel platform. So with the integration of Microsoft Threat Intelligence across both SIEM and XDR, you can now benefit from the out-of-the-box threat protection. So leveraging Microsoft's own threat research, the community intelligence, with over 100 trillion daily signals from across different sources, all available via Defender. The platform supports any third-party threat intelligence from various intel providers. You get out-of-the-box protection using detections, IOC matching, threat detection, cousin detections, automatic attack disruption, which are surfaced as customer-facing threat intelligence, used for triaging, hunting, vulnerability prioritization, and so on. The platform also supports secure intelligence sharing, allowing MSSPs, national SOCs, and advanced CTI teams to export and share threat intelligence data. And lastly, with the integration with Sentinel Data Lake, you get graph and notebook capabilities for more advanced use cases and retroactive hunting. So let's see it in action. So back to the Defender portal, you'll see there is the threat intelligence blade here. We have threat analytics, threat intel management, intel profiles, Intel Explorer, and Intel projects. So just to mention, Intel profiles, Intel Explorer, and Intel projects are part of the Defender threat intelligence suite. So these are being converged. I will not go through them because they are now available in threat analytics. So threat analytics, what it is essentially is your threat intel repo or your threat intel library. It provides intel on threat actors, on their campaigns, attack techniques, critical vulnerabilities, converge insights from Defender threat intelligence. And this is now available at no cost to Sentinel-only customers, to XDR customers, to basically anyone who onboards to this portal. So let's go and search for quite a known threat actor, so Aquablizzard. So once we open the Aquablizzard here, we can see converged intelligence from Defender threat intelligence, like the articles, the related profiles, related articles like linked to Aquablizzard. You also get an analyst report with like targeted industries, any related incidents. And also it's linked to some MITRE attack techniques that you can already surface. And you can also see, and this is currently in public preview, any IOCs that are linked to that threat actor. Just wanted to touch base also on this little briefing agent here. It provides the latest threat actor behavior and vulnerabilities. So if you have Security Copilot, also this is a great one to have. It enables organization to act on the fresh intelligence and not obsolete data. So it prioritizes reports based on industry, region, and vulnerabilities. So it summarizes them basically into an executive report. Okay, next we have Intel Management. And this will be familiar to you because this is the Sentinel threat intelligence part. And here you can see a very familiar view with your indicators, your attack patterns, identities, threat actors, similar as you would see in the Azure portal with your filters. We have also recently introduced the export features. So if you want to export any IOCs to any preferred platform, And yeah, and we have more object types as well, like attack patterns, identities, and so on. And last thing I wanted to show is this new content that we have in the Content Hub now for threat intelligence. You get 6 data connectors via Taxi, your Premium Defender for Intelligence, your export, your TI platforms, the upload API, and any detection rules. So these are the TI matching rules that you can leverage to use with your threat intelligence data. And this was the last bit of demo. Back to you, Naomi.
Thanks, Neelam, and thanks again for the amazing demo. Now, before closing off with some FAQ, I quickly want to re-spotlight case management, because this is one of those features you only get in the Defender portal. So you need to move to take advantage of it. With case management, you can create and track all your SecOps cases in one place. You define your own workflow, you set custom status values, and you assign tasks and due dates to your team. So this makes collaboration easier, and it really improves accountability and helps you with escalations or complex cases, because you can link those multiple instances and even TI together. And if you want to know more, we also have on our YouTube channel a dedicated webinar from a few months ago around case management. But let's quickly just move on to the next section, since we're kind of running out of time. And we want to highlight just 5 FAQs and give you a preview of what to expect next week. So a question that comes up often is the benefit for Sentinel-only customers to move as fast as possible. So why would they move? Well, first of all, Copilot is built into the experience. You get AI help right in the portal, so investigations go faster. Second, the instant view is cleaner and more focused. The unified queue reduces singletons, and thanks to correlation, you get that view of what is part of one attack. So you spend more time on what matters. Third reason to move, there are new innovations that are only available in the unified portal, like data lake or case management. So bottom line, if you're a Sentinel-only customer, there is really nothing stopping you from moving right away to the Defender portal, so you can also benefit from all these added functionalities. Another FAQ?
Yeah, next question. So does CI/CD change when moving to the Defender portal? CI/CD approach remains the same. You can keep on using the GitHub or Azure DevOps as you would. You can still deploy your content as code. And again, just to reiterate, Sentinel APIs remain the same. You don't need to change any workflows. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah. So some of you might have noticed that the security alert table isn't showing in the table overview in the Defender portal, but it's not gone. You can still use it. We continue to ingest alerts into this table, and your workbooks, rules, and automation that rely on this table will keep on working as before. We do encourage you to start using the alert evidence and alert info tables, which are native to Defender, for all your alert investigations. But nothing has changed in regards to the security alert table. It's still there. You can still use it. We have another one?
Yes, we have one more question. Very important one. Where does the data reside? So the data remains in Log Analytics workspace by default. Your retention and compliance settings in Log Analytics will still apply. You can choose to move your data to Data Lake if you would like, for longer retention at lower costs. XDR data will remain in XDR if you don't need it for longer retention purposes. So you can otherwise send it to Sentinel if you need it for longer than 30 days for advanced sending. Next question.
And that's the final one, I think. So yeah. Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
In the old Sentinel setup, Fusion analytic rules were actually responsible for creating those incidents that had multiple alerts in it, right? So that's no longer the case in the unified portal. Microsoft Defender XDR now takes over correlation and the incident creations. So this means that you get those full attack stories in that single incident without relying on Fusion scenarios. So if you were using Fusion for your third-party data like Palo Alto logs, those alerts are still included in the XDR correlation. So I would answer this shortly just as Fusion has been upgraded into a true correlation engine. Neelam, do you want to close off?
Yes, so if you have more questions, and I know you have more questions, please send us. We will try to address them in episode 2. So there is a link to a short survey here, which you can capture. We are looking forward to hearing more of your questions. So, which brings us to the last slide about the next episode, and it's next week. Don't get left behind. Complete your Sentinel move to Defender with Jeremy and Maria. And that one will cover some more advanced steps for your onboarding. So please join this one. Then thank you all. It was great to be with you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Naomi and Neelam, for being our guests today and for sharing all of that great information with our community. Also, thank you to our Q&A team who helped us with answering all of our questions and providing the resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or any other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/Microsoft Sentinel community, as well as sending them through that survey that was just shared. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.